There's a reason why the Ralph Lauren Christmas aesthetic is absolutely exploding right now. Searches are up over 600% all over social, and it's because old world elegance is officially back in style. Today, we're exploring 9 old world holiday decor trends that are officially back in style for 2025. And these are trends that are from historical sources such as Victorian times, European tradition, as well as just a time when Christmas and the holidays really engaged all of your senses, not just your sight, as well as your pocketbook. And make sure you stick around the end because I am going to show you how you can transform your entire home and make it feel glowing and warm and inviting. And it's something that you can't necessarily just buy at your local store. To kick things off, I wanted to tell you about one of the simplest, most unexpected holiday traditions that almost nobody does anymore. It only costs around $2. And it only takes about 20 minutes, and it's something that can fill your home with the most enjoyable and beautiful smell than you could ever imagine. So I am talking about pomanders, and these were very common in colonial times as well as in Victorian era, and these are clove-studded oranges. I have some cloves here, but the way that this works is you take an orange and you actually stud it or sink in whole cloves throughout the surface of the orange. And you can do it in different patterns, or you can just try to cover the entire surface of the orange. So the beautiful musky scent of the cloves mixes with that citrus and freshness of the orange, and it creates this beautiful aroma that really reminds you of Christmas. You can pile them up in a bowl and display them, or you can hang them from a ribbon, which is how I've seen them back in the day. Pomanders have been around for centuries, and they were very popular in colonial America all the way through the 1960s, so you might have remembered having these in your home. They fell out of favor when people started using these manufactured and synthetic air fresheners. What's interesting is these cloves, they actually have a natural preservative effect. So the pomander actually dries out over time, almost creating a potpourri effect. If you remember making pomanders or sticking those cloves in oranges as a kid, or you remember that aroma at your grandma's house, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your story. If pomanders surprised you, wait till you hear this next holiday decor thing that we definitely need to think about bringing back. It's going to bring back some memories, and it's almost just like a storybook. This next old world trend that I wanted to talk about is actually the Christmas villages that people used to use to decorate their homes. And these are beautiful ceramic or cardboard little houses. They're little shops. They're also whole scenes of a village that you can put together in different arrangements. And these can be called Christmas villages or putz houses. A lot of times people would have different buildings. They'd have a bakery, they'd have a church, they'd have houses all covered with glistening snow. And that way you could build a little scene and put it on your sideboard, or maybe put it on your mantle and have that on display as part of your holiday decor. You might go so far to even decorate these with little trees, as well as a little mirror to do an ice skating rink, and even have miniature lights. So that way at night you can see everything glowing, and some of them even light up. This tradition started with these putz houses that were paper houses, and they became popular in Germany as well as in Japan in the 1920s and 1930s. But it absolutely exploded in popularity by people producing ceramic villages and collectible little houses and shops in the 1970s and 1980s. It became a collectible hobby where each year you would buy a new piece and add to your collection and make your town a little bit bigger. They slowly became out of favor with different trends that people started doing, and also people going with a more minimalist vibe to their homes. They've become not so popular over the years. So if you remember your grandmother unwrapping each of those ceramic houses as she was putting out her Christmas decorations, or maybe you got to put them out and put them in different arrangements when you were a kid, leave a comment down below if this is bringing back a lot of nostalgic memories for you. And believe it or not, a lot of these old houses, the little ceramics and the putz houses and some of the different ceramic ones are being sold on eBay, and some of them for top dollar. So people are still into these collectibles. They're a little bit harder to find in terms of the craftsmanship and stuff, but you can still find a little bit of these Christmas villages in different craft and hobby shops today. Oh, and if you're new around here, my name's Carrie. I'm a self-taught designer as well as founder of the blog Penny Modern. We're all about affordable modern home decor and bringing you the latest and greatest interior design inspiration and ideas. So hit subscribe if you want more videos just like this. Now I want to talk about a little bit of a problem that nobody really talks about anymore, and that is around modern day Christmas lights. So a lot of people have switched to LED Christmas lights because they're very energy efficient and they last a really long time, which makes a ton of sense. But did you know that sometimes these LED lights, they can feel a little cold, a little sterile, and a little bit soulless? If you have a very white, almost bluish light, it's really not going to get you in that Christmas spirit, and it can feel like you're almost in a hospital, honestly. So one of the things they definitely got right back in the day were those incandescent lights, which are basically those Christmas lights using real legit light bulbs. You surely remember the Christmas lights from yesteryears with the red, the green, the blue, the white, sometimes yellow, beautiful real bulb Christmas lights. And they were actually much bigger than today's Christmas lights as well, so they gave a lot more ambiance to your space. And if you really want to go old school, maybe you remember the bubble lights. Yeah, those little bubble lights that you had that would bubble up, and they'd have a little bulb on the bottom and then a longer tube, and that added so much magic to your Christmas tree. Just think about it, when you hung these lights up, they added so much glow to your room, different colors, they really bounced off the walls, and now you just have these LED lights, they're all exactly the same. It doesn't really add that much to your space anymore. Incandescent lights, meaning those real light bulb Christmas trees, were definitely very common throughout the 1940s all the way through to the 1990s, when after 1990 gave way to these LED lights. And bubble lights were invented in the 1940s, and they were really popular all the way through to the 1970s. If you remember bubble lights, make sure you leave a comment below or hit that like button. They definitely fell out of favor because of the heat that they generate, as well as people were favoring more energy efficient lighting, and so that's why they're not widely in use today. While researching this video, I did find some incandescent lights that you can find online at specialty retailers, and I did actually find a few of the LED style lights that have bigger bulbs that I'm gonna try to link to down below that I thought would be a good way to mimic this look. Even though it might be LED, you're still getting that bigger bulb and the multicolored lights that way you can add a lot of ambiance to your Christmas tree. Sometimes the old school way is the better way. Let me know what you think down below if you are loving those incandescent lights, or even if you still have some that you still use. And those warm, beautiful lights definitely need to shine on some beautiful ornaments, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So here is what's wrong with a lot of today's more modern ornaments. Most of them are shatterproof now. They're also usually very shiny or maybe very glittery. They all look extremely manufactured because they're obviously not handmade, and they really don't have a lot of personality, and they've lost their soul. So the holiday trend that's definitely come back from the old world are these more antique, vintage looking ornaments. So we're definitely seeing a resurgence in more hand-blown, antique looking, maybe something like this where you have some individuality to them. These are just glass, but it has an antique finish to it, so it's not perfect and manufactured. It has some patina to it. So having some of those antique or vintage looking ornaments is definitely on trend this year. And these can be ornaments that maybe were passed down from generation to generation. Maybe your mom gave them to you or your grandma did. So if you have some of these glass or antique or vintage ornaments, you can Feel free to use them to express yourself. You probably always have been using them, but I just want you to know it's definitely on trend to have that vintage look to your Christmas tree this year. Some of these vintage ornaments have different scenes painted on them. They have hand painted scenes. They might be a nativity scene. It might be a little town or maybe a Santa. And all that is just a beautiful way to add a lot of character and personality to your tree. You also can get mercury glass ornaments. I also say just anything that looks a little bit more vintage would be a great add to your Christmas tree. For example, I found these at Target, which are manufactured and shatterproof, but if you look at them, the shapes are really unusual and they do have these beautiful dark velvet on them. And I thought that these were really special because they gave a very unique shape and they have all the on-trend colors, which are the dark green and the maroon and the deep red. And I'll link to these down below. I also found a few more. I thought this was a really cute one with the tassel, which I felt is very old world and old world elegant style. And I found these as well. These are all from Target and these are gigantic velvet balls with a little bit of glitter on them, but I thought that these were really special too. And if you had a bunch of these on your tree, I haven't decorated my tree because we're actually doing our tree trimming party today. We're gonna put up our tree and inviting all our family over to do some tree trimming, and I'll be showing that to you guys at some point in the future, so make sure you hit subscribe. This next holiday decor trend was really one of the foundations of Victorian era Christmas decorating. It's also one of the key elements of that Ralph Lauren aesthetic that everybody's talking about on social media. I'm talking about real greenery, or at least realistic looking greenery. And people are using tons and tons of greenery to decorate all over their living room, as well as the rest of their home, whether it's the outside, the kitchen, the dining room, the bedroom. People are going wild over greenery. So you can use these beautiful garlands to decorate not only your mantle, but also your staircase, as well as I have some on my entryway mirror, and you can put them around your doorway. And even you can put them on a doorway you have inside your house. You can put them as an entryway into your archway. People are putting a shower curtain and then draping their garland over it. And I think today we also have a lot of really great garlands that are artificial, but they look extremely authentic. And I wanted to show you guys the difference between this as well as a fake one. You can see how authentic some of these garlands are getting. This is a very old wreath that I have, and my kid decorated some of these. And you can see on here, the greenery, it just looks plastic and very fake. But on this, these garlands now, this is just from Target. Look at this. This looks so real. And I'm gonna link to these down below. You guys might see these little pop-ups on the screen. I'm gonna link to all these items. It's okay to shop on them. You're shopping on them through YouTube. It is an affiliate link, but I wanted to show you guys how realistic these look, even though they're artificial. And if you're like, Carrie, I like to use real greenery, trust me, I would love to too, but I also don't like having to clean up all the pine needles. So if you miss that smell, I have something for you. So I also found these awesome candles, and you can get so many now. This is Forest Fir from Target, and it smells so good. There's so many good candles now, you guys, that you can just light a candle that smells like pine tree, and you can have your artificial garland, and you can still get that effect without having to spray Febreze all over your house or something, or without having to clean up the pine needles. Using real greenery inside homes was definitely popular throughout the Victorian era, all the way through the mid-20th century. The Victorian era folks would bring things like holly, ivy, pine cone, and even mistletoe to bring some elements of the outdoors in throughout their homes. You can get real greenery from a variety of different places, including places like a Home Depot or wherever you get your Christmas tree from. The other thing you can do is get these very realistic looking artificial garlands. And the other thing you can do is spruce them up, so you can put things like pine cones in. And if you use real pine cones, you can actually get some of that smell of the pine tree in your house as well. And you can add some different elements to your garland, such as the velvet ribbons. your pine cones, and even some ornaments to zhuzh them up a little bit and add a lot more different elements to your space. Greenery is one of the foundations of your holiday decor. This next element is definitely going to step things up and add a touch of luxury. So here can be the problem with a lot of modern holiday decor. It can feel very manufactured, very matchy, and it also lacks a lot of the textures that you need to make your home feel very luxurious. So I am talking about velvet ribbons. So adding a little bit of luxury in terms of the velvet ribbons, that's definitely part of this Ralph Lauren aesthetic, using those darker colors, using a burgundy, a deep red, a deep green, and having those beautiful ribbons, whether you have a more structured one like this or something like I have on my wreath here, just a loose, beautiful ribbon, that's going to add that touch of luxury as well as texture. So you can use ribbons in a variety of places, and this might be something, if you don't have a ton of ribbon, you can get these at your local craft store. You also can tie them to your garland like I did here, or you can just use them as a napkin holder if you're having a formal dinner. You also can use them to decorate your banister, and then you also can add them to your wreaths and just use the ribbon throughout. And I have seen people also starting to use ribbon instead of using the little hooks for the ornaments. Instead of using those little metal hooks, use a piece of ribbon, and that's gonna add so much texture and luxury to your decor. Using these deep colored, beautiful velvet ribbons, it's gonna help you get that Ralph Lauren or old world aesthetic that everybody's been talking about. And velvet ribbon is something that you're gonna be able to use over and over from one year to the next, because it's really a traditional classic element that's never gonna go out of style. Let me ask you a question. When you think of Christmas, is there a certain pattern that maybe comes to mind when you're thinking about decorating for Christmas? For most people, it's definitely going to be a tartan plaid. That is a beautiful pattern that's from Scotland. And these red and green Scottish plaids are definitely something that people are embracing more and more this year, especially part of that Ralph Lauren aesthetic. So you might have seen a tartan tree skirt under your tree, maybe back in the day, or maybe you have some plaid pillows. Like I do have this pillow. It's not a tartan plaid, but it is a plaid pillow that I really love, and I use this in the fall as well as for my Christmas decor. And that is something that you could get some throw pillows. You could also get a beautiful blanket to throw over your furniture and have that plaid pattern in a number of different ways. Tartan has a history of being associated with Christmas that goes back for centuries. Tartan actually became associated with Christmas back in England when Queen Victoria and Prince Albert started popularizing Scottish culture. It became a staple in holiday decor for many years, all the way through the mid-20th century when people started going for a more minimalist aesthetic. If your family had a tartan tree skirt or maybe a tablecloth that was tartan, let us know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. But tartan is definitely having resurgence. It's part of that Ralph Lauren Christmas aesthetic. We all know that plaids have been part of Christmas. Think about all the pajamas that we have. Those are all beautiful red, white, and green plaids. And red and green plaids have been part of our Christmas culture for many generations in terms of the pajamas. But we also are seeing a resurgence in plaid used throughout your space, and that's going to again be something timeless that you can use year over year. And don't be afraid to mix tartan with different patterns and textures. So you could have your tartan pillows mixed with a velvet pillow, or maybe a velvet pillow mixed with a tartan blanket, and that is going to add so much beauty to your space. This next trend is all about something that we usually put on our front door at Christmas time, and that is around your wreath. We are seeing a resurgence in using more fresh wreaths and definitely more authentic, natural looking artificial wreaths. So this one is artificial, but I feel it looks extremely real. I wanted to show you guys, it actually has several different types of pine branches in it. And this thing looks so authentic and so real. I can't even believe that it's artificial. And this is from Target. I'll link to it down below. And I just wanted to compare it with that other wreath I had. This is that other wreath I had, and you can see it just looks very artificial and plasticky. So I would say if you are in the market for a new wreath, try to get something that's actually real and you're gonna get that great smell, or get something that's very natural and real looking, because the trend is definitely toward trying to use more natural and authentic and natural materials to bring the outdoors inside. The use of these beautiful wreaths made out of greenery is something that got very popular in the Victorian era, and it's never really gone away. And people used wreaths to put on their front door for a variety of reasons, actually for hundreds of years, going back centuries. The use of evergreens on a wreath on your front door goes back to medieval times, which had a symbolic of eternal life. And what's great about using them on your front door is actually every time you come home and you go through that door, you're smelling that beautiful pine scent. Fresh wreaths were definitely the norm all the way until the mid 20th century, when people started using manufactured and artificial ones. You can get a fresh wreath from places like a Home Depot, maybe even a grocery store, or definitely a plant store, or where you get your Christmas tree. I actually bought one from the Boy Scouts when they came by my house. I ordered a fresh one through them to help support the Boy Scout. And these can last 3 to 4 weeks. You do have to mist them with water, but I definitely think it's worth it to get something that's real, or at least very authentic. And when you're done, you can compost your wreath or donate it and put it into your recycling bin to have it turned into mulch. So here is that holiday decor tradition that I promised you since the beginning, and that is one that's going to turn your home into a warm, glowing, inviting sanctuary. And I'm talking about candlelight. I'm not talking about just 1 or 2 candles here and there. I am talking about turning your home into a candlelit sanctuary. I want to tell you about 2 different ways that you can bring this old world tradition back. One is the Advent wreath. It's a circular wreath that has 4 different candles in it, and you light each one on each Sunday on the 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas. This is a German tradition that definitely became popular. We actually had an Advent wreath back in my family because I come from German descent, and we would light the candle each Sunday, and it just became a tradition, and it was something I really looked forward to as a kid. If you had an Advent wreath growing up and you still do that tradition today, let us know down in the comments below. But beyond that, there's a broader tradition of using candles throughout the home during the holidays. You might have tapered candles on your dining table or on your mantle. You might use a hurricane lamp to have candles in a beautiful glass container that is also very on trend this year to help give you that Ralph Lauren aesthetic. There's also window candles, although I wouldn't use real ones. I did have a little light, an electric plug-in candle that we would put in our window. That was also a tradition that we used to do back when I was growing up. Just think about it, when you have a room that's primarily lit by candlelight, and that's something that you do around the holidays, it's something that's going to make it feel warm. It's going to give you so much ambiance. It's going to feel more romantic. You actually look better in terms of how you look to other people. And if you are loving having a lot of candles in your home for the holidays, hit that like button so I know that you agree. Now, back in the day, candlelight was the only option because they didn't have electricities, but Victorians definitely elevated candlelight to a whole nother. The Victorians had candles everywhere. They had very elaborate candelabra that would display their candles, and they used them absolutely everywhere throughout the home. Using candles, especially during Christmas time, was very popular throughout the 20th century before we all got electricity. So I personally love using candles around the holidays, especially the scented candles. I love the cinnamon ones as well as the ones that kind of mimic a pine tree or a fir tree. I also love me some battery operated candles because I do have a little kid and I'm a little nervous about having a ton of real candles around the house, but I am a fan of these as well. So I will link to some of this down below. And if you're ready to make your old world Christmas and have that Ralph Lauren aesthetic, let me know down in the comments below which of these trends that you're gonna embrace in your holiday decor this year. I would love to know. And if you'd love more interior design ideas and inspiration, watch this video right here, and I'll see you in the next video.